one game away. Blow up. We're playing for something, man. We're playing for something. It's gotta mean something to you. It gotta mean something. Everything you got. Everything you got. Let's finish this.
Do it, fellas.
Let's go.
Let's do it, fellas.
Finish 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
You ready to make history? Come on now. Yeah. You know, there's these two words. And when I say them, people get goosebumps because they know what happens next. So without further ado,
Free smoke.
look. Scared cause I'm drowning in silence with bad thoughts. These days I don't have nothing to say, man, the bag talks. I put in headphones on my driver. Pull up to the spot and give a good dick and Godiva. I can't lie, I'm uninspired. No more pillow talking about nonsense. I only stick around to put some band-aids on my conscience. I don't know why I feel so bad, nigga. That's what we do, no foundation. We don't build no more, we just screw. Half a bottle of Henny, girl, I'm going with the wind. The same niggas say they happy for me, ain't want me to win. So I'm done on my friends. Don't need help popping Coronas and reminiscing. I just call up Big Bro J and say it's time for venting. If I live forever, I hold this hate for some centuries. You don't know how much I have you doing what it meant to me, but motherfuck all that. I don't even offer up the time to make the call back. Stupid Lodo, if they don't get the picture now, man, I crop them out of the photo. I can't relate to my peers. Been doing this shit for years. I'm motivated by fears. I took the wheel and I steer. My sound not dictated by fuck boys in Atlanta. Stay gifted like this album was ghost written by Santa Bars forever, like they decided to throw me under slammer. Every song's a hit like they picture me underhanders. I could drop 1,000,000 songs, but they never gon' understand us. Soapbox sermons for niggas never giving chances. Fight our whole lives to get these weak ass advances. Work twice as hard for the shit that they getting handed. And this ain't even nothing we chose, nigga, we branded. Still can't tell why all of these niggas mad at me. I'm trying to get 100 so I can put my team on salary. Give it all to the art, man, I turn my life to a gallery. Man, damn, what a fucked up masterpiece. 1,100 shots and I swear, man, I felt them all. If we ain't even good on our blocks, man, who can we call? Pre-decline state of mind, we broke crabs in the barrel. Got us fighting our folk, man, this shit just a life of peril.
Winning has a price. And leadership has a price.
I'm coming. I promise you, on my life, I'm coming. From the first snap, man. From the first second. What are we gonna do, man? All back against the wall. All back is against the wall.
It's that time. The kickoff to the NFL season. Especially here for us on Kicking It with Saint. Obviously, you know the things that will always remain. Predictions, recaps, all of those for the football games. You know, those are things that'll be staples for the channel. But I appreciate you for joining me on another episode of Kicking It with Saint. Technically, the first official video show for the 2024-25 season. Here we are. I'm so happy to be here. Back for yet our third season. I appreciate you if you was with me for season 1 or 2. All of the people who done been with me from the start, I'm going to remember y'all. I promise you I'm not going to forget y'all. I appreciate all the comments, the interactions, liking the shows, sharing the shows, watching the shows. I truly do appreciate y'all, man. Y'all make this shit real easy to keep uploading. So I appreciate y'all for that. I don't never want y'all to think that y'all support has gone unnoticed. Trust me. I notice it. I appreciate it. It gets me through the days. I'm telling you. Because it's rough days out there. But you see people interacting with your content and it's like, keep going. And so I appreciate y'all. I truly do. And what I enjoy most, what I appreciate most, is that you're back with me for another NFL season. And the kickoff this season, the Kansas City Chiefs, reigning Super Bowl champions, on the quest for a three-peat. They take on the Baltimore Ravens, the team that they saw in the AFC Championship game last year. A few new additions for both teams. Juju Smith-Schuster is back with the Chiefs. The Ravens add Derrick Henry. So, another year older for Travis Kelce. It's going to be a very interesting game. And I'm here to break it down and predict it out. I just want to start off by saying, like I say in every single show to start the season, when we break down or predict these first games of week 1 and 2, you really don't know what teams are until probably around week 3, week 4, week 5. It's really hard to predict how good a team will be in week 1 and 2, but we usually just go off of what we expect from teams that have been good in the past. So a team like the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Bills, the Bengals, the Eagles, we just expect that they should be good. For other teams, it becomes a little bit harder to predict what they actually can be unless you know for a fact they'll be bad. And it is teams out there who you expect to be bad. However, you just don't know this shit until like week 3, 4, 5, 6. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, I say that to say, like I say in every show to start the season, don't take this shit too heavy. All right. I'm going into this without have seen any of these two teams play this season. All right. I would just appreciate that. Now this year, the shows might get a little bit longer after the recap shows, because the recap shows will have different segments this year. Now, the first segment that we can go ahead, do I want to introduce it right now? Because it's really not segments yet for the, we're still figuring out the segments for the prediction shows. The recap shows are the ones that are like the meat and potatoes, the pot roast, if you will. So, yeah, as a matter of fact, we'll leave that alone till, we're going to go ahead and introduce one of the segments right now. New segment on the show. We'll do this every single recap on Sunday nights. I'm going to tell you something, a new segment called Just a Little. You see, a lot of things take a lot to get to me. And a lot of things, they piss me off just a little. And this week, what pissed me off just a little was when I looked at the Fox rankings for these NFL teams going into the season. Now I have the Fox's rankings up on the screen right now for you to see. So you can see how they ranked every team. And I just want to go ahead and point out some things that immediately irritate me, okay? The Lions being number 2 is fucking insane. Why are the Lions number 2? They did not have a great defense last year. Somehow they are number 2 in the league. They had, compared to the top teams last year, they were nowhere near as good defensively as those other top teams. But somehow, that's the number 2 team going into the season by Fox. The offense, for as many pieces they have, we know what Jared Goff is. So somehow, that's a better team than a Ravens team that blew the doors off of that team last year. That's interesting. Because the Ravens, if you take a look at their rankings, at number 8, behind the Bengals at 4, and the fucking, now you know I love the Packers, but at 6 over the Ravens. What are we doing? What are we doing? The Bucks. How is Baker Mayfield rated this high? How are the Bucks rated this high with Baker Mayfield as their quarterback? Mind you, it's multiple teams rated above the Dolphins who didn't even finish above 500. I am so confused by Fox's rankings of these teams. At this point, the only reason you would have the Ravens rated this low, for one, is because you just don't like Lamar Jackson. Because the Ravens did not lose significant enough pieces to have been ranked 8th in the NFL. On top of that, I clearly see people don't watch Patrick Queen play, because if you think the Ravens losing Patrick Queen was a huge loss, you do not watch the Ravens play. If you think them losing Geno Smith after him having his one great year with the Ravens, then you don't watch the Ravens. I'm confused as to how the Ravens are ranked this low on this power ranking. The Chiefs, I get them being ranked number 1, but if we got these goofy ass rankings, what sense other than they won the Super Bowl last year could the Chiefs be number 1? Because there's other rosters on here better than the Chiefs. And clearly having a great quarterback don't matter, because Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, and Lamar Jackson's teams are ranked lower than Jared Goff's team. Now listen, I'm not mad. I'm just pissed off just a little because I don't understand these rankings. I don't care how you feel about Tua. Having the Falcons and the Bucks, two teams that played in the worst division in football last year, is insanity to me. Bless me. I don't like this Fox rankings. I don't like them at all. This is why I don't really like when people rank teams to start the seasons. But this is just a further reminder of when Ryan Clark said he trusts Jared Goff more than he trusts Lamar Jackson. He said, the only person I don't trust more than Jared Goff is Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. Once again, you see, this is my irritation when I hear Ryan Clark and some of the black analysts at ESPN or other shows talk about how it's only white people that go at Lamar Jackson like this. No, it's not. No, it's not. Ryan Clark done said stupid shit about Lamar Jackson for some reason is the only one who got it every year is a new year for him. He got to prove he good every year. Other quarterbacks like Joe Burrow, who haven't had a season close to that Super Bowl year where they almost won it. He's still living off of that season. Josh Allen been living off a season, but they finally started going at him last year, even though Josh Allen's my guy, so I'm probably one of the people who, I give Josh Allen the proper amount of criticism. Justin Herbert has failed every expectation of him since coming to the league. For some reason, he is resting on laurels of having just good passing yards. You never see these other quarterbacks critiqued, criticized, or talked about the way Lamar Jackson is talked about and criticized. And I don't understand it. Because to leave, we're not done with just a little. You see, while the rankings also pissed me off just a little, listening to Stephen A. Smith talk about Lamar Jackson is starting to really piss me off. Just a little. Just a little. We ain't getting too emotional about these things, but just a little. Getting a little irritated with it. Because clearly this dude does not watch. This man said, if he was like Matthew Stafford and had no help in Detroit, then we could make an exception for Lamar Jackson. Now, when I hear stupid, I was about to say something. When I hear stupid shit like that, that's what really starts to grind my fucking gears. But I gotta stay calm. Because I'm not pissed off a lot. Just a little. Because I gotta understand the stupidity that consistently comes out of this man's mouth. But to say that Lamar Jackson has had more around him than Stafford had around him is silly. I understand Lamar Jackson has had some great defenses. So has Josh Allen. So has Joe Burrow. Neither of those two are Super Bowl champions. But back to Matthew Stafford, who, for some reason, people like to rewrite his history in Detroit. Matthew Stafford came to Detroit as a top pick in the draft. He had Megatron. He had Nate Burleson when Nate Burleson was in his prime. He had Galloway when he was there. He had great receiver help. He had running back help. He had Ndamukong Suh, Nick Fairley. He had good defenses to great defenses in Detroit. He never got it done. You want to know what he also had? A turnover problem. You want to know what else he had? A decision-making problem. An injury problem. But now all of a sudden, because he won a Super Bowl when he got to the Rams, a loaded roster, now all of a sudden, he never had help in Detroit. Now, if Matthew Stafford never goes to LA, do we look at Matthew Stafford the way we look at him right now? Because I don't really look at Matthew Stafford any really much different than I looked at him when he was in Detroit. But I know a lot of people look at him completely different because, the Super Bowl, even though he ain't the reason they won that Super Bowl. But nonetheless, how do you look at him before he get to LA? And the fact that people continue to act like he didn't have Megatron over there, Calvin Johnson, a Hall of Fame receiver on the first try, is insane to me. One of the greatest receivers to ever do it. But somehow, Lamar Jackson then had more talent at his disposal than Matthew Stafford. That is interesting. I want to know the receiver that Lamar Jackson had that's on the level of a Calvin Johnson. And if I had the list right now of all the great receivers that Matthew Stafford done played with, including Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, just show me the receivers that Matthew Stafford played with that were anywhere near that were, or that Lamar played with that were on the level of the receivers that Stafford done played with. Zay Flowers a good receiver. He ain't Cooper Kupp. He ain't he ain't Megatron. I'm not gonna disrespect him. I know Nate Burleson was a stud during his days, but I would probably still take Zay. But that's beside the point. I just think when these analysts are allowed to go on TV and just say stupid, I think it's funny how a lot of these dudes do their research for everybody but Lamar. I heard Swagoo say today, and this pissed me off just a little. He said, I was down on how Lamar Jackson played in that AFC Championship game. Then I went back and looked at it and realized he gave them a lot of opportunities to win that game. Yeah, I know that. But for some reason, nobody else cares about that. I think it's very interesting that every year we go into the season and say, Lamar got to be this, Lamar got to be that. When the fuck are we going to say Rashad Bateman got to stay healthy? Not only do he got to stay healthy, he got to be consistent. What did I say last year? Going down the stretch, I said it. I don't trust these receivers, but they have been consistent to a T the last couple weeks. Let's see if they can keep it up. Because if they can, then that will get the Ravens to a Super Bowl. But I said if they stop being consistent and it become Lamar Carriers, then it's going to be tough to beat the Chiefs. What happened? I don't understand how every year in, year out, you got guys like Mark Schlereth, guys like Stephen A. Smith, guys like Nick Wright, who continuously go at Lamar Jackson. But every time quarterbacks that they root for, or teams that they root for, have players who are underachieving, it's everybody else around them. I done seen all the excuses made for Trevor Lawrence. I done seen all the excuses made for Justin Herbert. I done seen all the excuses made for Justin Fields, and he ain't nowhere near as talented. I don't think any of those three quarterbacks is as talented as Lamar Jackson anywhere near, but that's just my opinion. But I think it's very interesting that we don't decide to hold anybody else on this Ravens offense to any type of standard. The running backs in the playoffs. People keep talking about, they didn't give them enough touches. What did they do when they had touches? It's the same thing for the running backs for the Ravens. It's the same thing with the receivers. So, listening to these buffoons on ESPN, it's starting to piss me off. Just a little. Now, with that, let's get into the show. The Ravens, the Chiefs. It's going to be a good one. You want to know what I find interesting about this game? Not even necessarily interesting as much as I like this about this game. Usually in the beginning of the season, the defenses start the fastest because it's hard for an offense. The offense got to get into game speed. It's easier, I think, for a defense to have a good first game than it is for an offense. But in today's game, you never know. However, what I find interesting is both the Ravens and the Chiefs have a good defense, a great defense, to where for a fact Lamar and Pat gonna have to make plays. That's why I love this game. Listen, I told you, my favorite thing, the thing that disappoints me the most in football right now is the fact that we will never see Lamar Jackson taking on Pat Mahomes in the Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson taking on Josh Allen in the Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson taking on Burrow in the Super Bowl. Burrow taking on Allen. Burrow taking on Mahomes. Mahomes taking on Allen in a Super Bowl, because all of these studs play in the AFC. That is so disappointing. And that is that is a topic that could be talked about for days on ESPN. But instead, they'd rather shit on players. They'd rather talk about shit that does not matter. Rather have these dumbass stories. Mike Tomlin said that Russell Wilson was the quarterback, and these jackasses on ESPN tried to make it a competition. And then when Mike Tomlin named Russell Wilson the quarterback, the starting quarterback again, they say, well, they fooled us all off. How? How are you fooled anybody anyways if you watch the tape on Justin Fields? It's not like you're a rookie. You can go back and watch his 3 previous seasons as a starter. Like, he wasn't coming off the bench. He started for 3 years. I hate ESPN. But FS1 is so far and away worse. I don't understand where people go to get their content for sports nowadays. One of the biggest reasons I don't understand where they going, because I'm getting on Twitter seeing these takes, and it's just some of the most buffoonish takes I've ever seen. And I'm like, who is teaching y'all this shit? Like, it's no way that y'all can't find one good source to talk about sports. And I'm not talking about your local sports channel team that only going to talk good about, or overreact to losses about the team that they paid to root for. Not talking about that. I'm saying it's no way y'all can't find one unbiased source that can sit down and talk about sports properly, where y'all can be educated and form educated sports takes. Because I'm starting to think that y'all think just because it's sports, you could just say stupid shit on Twitter, and that's fine. I don't agree with that. I actually find it very frustrating, infuriating. That's why the segment Just a Little is over, because that shit don't piss me off a little bit. That shit actually annoys me a fucking lot. Just waking up, hopping on Twitter saying stupid shit. I can't stand it. But listen. We are in such a beautiful era of quarterback players. So many great quarterbacks. And you know how I said that the AFC had all the talent? The NFC looking like it could start catching up. Well, not catching up. It's not catching up no time soon. But I think, and this is going to sound crazy, to me right now, if you said take a quarterback in the NFC, the very first quarterback that I'm taking is Jordan Love. I do not think that it is a quarterback in the NFC right now that's as good as Jordan Love talent-wise, or who has a higher ceiling than Jordan Love. I also believe that Jordan Love, if he hit his ceiling, he gonna be on the level of a Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. That's how talented he is. I think he is more talented individually than Joe Burrow. I think the problem for them right now is he young, he got to get more reps, but you saw him start to figure it out at the end of the year last year. So I know that sounds crazy to a lot of people, but right now, out of the quarterbacks in the NFC, while I do think the NFC is starting to get a little bit better quarterback wise, to me right now, Jordan Love is by far and away, to me, the most talented quarterback just on his own talents alone. Not anything around him and coaching and all, off of pure talent, just what he can do with that football and how he played a quarterback position. I think Jordan Love is a ultra talent, and I think that's going to shine through this year. But we're not here to talk about Jordan Love. We are here to talk about the Baltimore Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs. Like I said, the beauty in this game is that Lamar and Pat will both have to make plays. Because both defense, I expect both defenses to play good games. I'm not going to lie to you. I expect both defenses to play elite, not necessarily. I mean, they can make a mistake here or there. Like, it's going to scoring will probably happen. I don't necessarily think it'll be as defensive as it was in the AFC Championship game. Because those are defenses that played through a long season, got better and better, and now they were at their peaks. I don't think the defenses will be that. But I do believe that it will be parts of this game and moments in this game where Lamar and Pat have to make plays. And these are the quarterbacks you want on the field to make that. What a great way to start the season, for one. You know, I can remember back to when the Ravens won the Super Bowl and we had to open up against the Broncos on the road against the Broncos, even though we won the Super Bowl because of some conflicts with stadiums and shit like that. And we got our asses beat. I think Peyton set like a record that night for the most touchdown throws in a game or some shit like that. I'm like, yo, this can't be life. Right after we raised that Lombardi, we got our asses whipped. Not to mention, we didn't even raise the bitch. We had to wait till the next, I think it was to week 2 or 3. You really hate to see it. But that's what I'm hoping that we do to the Chiefs on Thursday night. I hope we watch them raise that banner and then we put our ass beating on them. Listen, I just saw an interview or a thing after a game that I had not seen before. Donovan Smith, I believe is his name. Offensive lineman for the Chiefs. Going hard at Roquan Smith. Listen, whatever you need to motivate you, brother. When you the winner, you can say whatever the fuck you want. So, my thoughts on that is, they won. They can say whatever the fuck they want to when they win. It's as simple as that. I got no problem with it. I'm going to keep it a buck with you. I got no problem with it. But I don't want to hear anything if it ever comes back around. That's my only rule. You cannot talk crazy, win, and then lose, and then hate it when somebody talk crazy to you and be like, bro, I didn't even say nothing. But you did. You did before. And now we got the gun. So, hey, you do got Pat Mahomes. And as long as you are on Pat Mahomes' team or you root for Pat Mahomes, you got a lot of leeway to run your mouth. So I respect it. Pat Mahomes giving niggas a lot of rope nowadays. A lot of rope. So, you know, shout out to my GOAT. I'm excited to see my GOAT at the start of the season. My GOAT, man, I've been saying a lot of things about him. Let's get into the game though. Because the thing that intrigues me the most about this game is Derrick Henry. You see, it's two things that I don't want to hear. The Chiefs done played good against Derrick Henry. The Chiefs done played good against Lamar Jackson. Because the Chiefs have never played against a Derrick Henry that had a Lamar Jackson or a Lamar Jackson that had a Derrick Henry. That is a completely different equation. Lamar Jackson has never had a Derrick Henry level running back in the backfield. The best running back Lamar Jackson has ever played with is Mark Ingram, which coincidentally was Mark Ingram's last great year in the NFL. Shout out to Big Mark. Big trust. You take away Mark Ingram's great year as a running back for him. J.K. Dobbins got hurt in the midst of a good year. Gus Edwards was only good in the red zone, not to mention he stayed hurt. Lamar Jackson has had to be the quarterback and the best running back for the Ravens. And that has been the problem. Now, Lamar Jackson only has to focus on being a great quarterback. He no longer has to worry about, if we need to pick up rushing yards and I can't trust the running back, I know I got to go make this play because you have Derrick Henry. And while I understand you got to earn people's trust, there's certain players, when they walk in the building, you immediately say, I trust him. That's King Henry. His resume speaks for itself. And I'm pretty sure if you talk to Andy Reid, Pat Mahomes, Chris Jones, the defenders on that defensive side of the ball for the Chiefs, they'll tell you Lamar Jackson is a handful in himself. Derrick Henry is a handful in himself. You put both of these motherfuckers together, and that just does not seem fair at a certain point in time. But I am very interested to see this game because I don't know. Let's say the Chiefs play good against them this first game. The Ravens do have a built-in excuse of, that was just our first game with Derrick Henry. Play us once we done got 10 games under our belt with Derrick Henry. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 games. Play us in the playoffs if Derrick Henry healthy and Lamar Jackson healthy and they done had a whole season together. So I do understand that that's a built-in excuse off rip, but I am very intrigued to see how the Ravens play this and how the Chiefs defend this. Because for the Ravens, they've seen Isaiah Pacheco. So they pretty much know what to expect. However, the Chiefs do have more weapons for Pat Mahomes coming into this season. And you get a second, your rookie receiver get his second, even though, is he suspended the first, I can't remember if Rice is suspended the first couple games of the season for his off the field conduct. I'm not for sure. But Mahomes does have, now he won't have Marquise Brown in the first game of the season either. I saw that today. But I'm very interested to see how this starts off. Now, I do believe that for the Chiefs, and I'm not being biased when I talk about this, the Chiefs could start slower than the Ravens because the Ravens do have the fallback option of Lamar, Derrick Henry. If Isaiah Pacheco start off kind of slow and he not really running the way you would like him to run, the Ravens still have two options to get that run game going to lead to the pass. Not to mention, I know Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs won that game in the playoffs, but it wasn't because Pat Mahomes just diced up the Ravens defense. He had key drives, that first two drives of the game and that last throw of the game. But it wasn't that he just diced up the Ravens defense. So I expect that this will still be a very competitive game as far as the Ravens defense trying to stop Pat Mahomes. I don't think this is going to be Pat Mahomes just working the Ravens the entire game. It is stuff that I would still prefer to see the Ravens do defensively at times if for some reason they never do. It seems as though at times, like, example, the Ravens in the past, they play off receivers and let them just get killed in the short game. Now, when you have Ray Lewis, Alohi Nada, Ed Reed, Terrell Suggs, they smart enough to where you can't continue to do shit like that. You can't keep dinking and dunking on them. They're going to come up early enough to stop that to where you got to figure other shit out. However, too many times with the Ravens defense, you see them make just, I understand a lot of people love Brandon Stevens, and he played a good game in the AFC Championship game overall. But it was a lot of moments last year where he got beat on, because he just gave up too much space to dudes and he couldn't recover before they already had picked up a big yardage or a first down. Marlon Humphreys against big time receivers. For some reason, Marlon Humphreys going deep. People seem to beat him deep all the time, especially when it's one of those receivers who can go up and win the 50-50s. He struggled with receivers like a Jamar Chase, a A.J. Brown, a T. Higgins. Those are receivers that tend to work Marlon Humphreys. Kyle Hamilton, who I think is the best safety in the game and one of the best defenders in the game, I think with him and Roquan, you just expect them to be the Ray Lewis, Ed Reed combo that's going to continue to. I'm going to keep it a buck with you. I do not see he or Roquan slowing down anytime soon. I think the beauty in, as bad as the Ravens are at putting pieces around Lamar Jackson offensively, they have it figured out as far as putting together great pieces defensively. Roquan Smith and Kyle Hamilton is undeniably your Ray Lewis, Ed Reed type of combo in the 2020s going forward. You nailed that. I wish you would find a way to nail a receiver. Zay Flowers, as much as I love him, he is still a short receiver. I do not understand the addiction to drafting short receivers. They pass on A.J. Brown. They pass on Devontae Smith. They continue to pass on top tier receivers. But they never miss somehow when it comes to picking up top tier defenders. I think Patrick Queen was a miss for what you needed him to be and what you wanted him to be and what he ultimately was. But that's just my opinion. I know there's people out there who love Patrick Queen. And if Patrick Queen have a season like he had last year and continue to have seasons similar to that going forward, then Patrick Queen ultimately will end up being a great middle linebacker. But what you drafted him that high for was for him to be Roquan Smith. And ultimately, he is nowhere near a Roquan Smith, a Fred Warner. You know, we can go down a list of great middle linebackers in the NFL. And I mean, when you look at Edmonds' best seasons in Buffalo, I know he in Chicago now, and a lot of people not that high on him, but Patrick Queen's highs haven't been Edmonds' highs when he was with Buffalo. All pro Matt Milano. I mean, that's what you draft the linebacker that high to be, but, you know, that's just my opinion. When I look at this Chiefs defense, I expect Chris Jones to be a monster. Chris Jones might have a better season this year than he had last year because now he paid, he comfortable. He know he got a long-term deal. He know he going to be in Kansas City for the long haul. All he playing for is championships. That's it. I mean, and he know he got the security, so he going to go all out. Plays that he might not have went for last year, he definitely going for him this year. So I expect Chris Jones to be even better this year. Now, what I'm interested about with the Chiefs defense, because the Chiefs defense, they done drafted good. They done signed and traded pretty well. How long? Because they traded away their best cornerback to the Titans. That was interesting. They still have good corner help. I like the safeties. I wouldn't say I love the safeties. I'm between a like and a love on the linebackers. I don't love the pass rush as much as I love Chris Jones. To me, with the Chiefs, ultimately, though, Spags working his magic on the defensive side of the ball. That's what ultimately does it, man. It don't matter. He can be lacking in certain areas. Spags is a masterful game caller. I think out of my lifetime watching football, Spags might be one of the clutchest defensive coordinators I have ever seen. And this is what irritates me. ESPN, FS1, they could educate people on shit like this. There's people out there who don't know the name of no offensive or defensive coordinators. They just know the head coaches. And God bless some people out there who don't even fucking know the head coaches. But there's so many things that go into teams being great that the NFL or ESPN and these shows could be teaching you and make it entertaining, and they just choose not to. Think about shows that you watch on YouTube that you find entertaining. Things that you probably would have never watched before, but somehow they find ways to make this shit entertaining. So you sit and watch it. For me, I watch shit like Watch Mojo or the infographics. Things like that where it's constantly making like things interesting for things I thought I would never sit and watch. I'm watching it because they find ways to entertain me. A good mythical morning on things that they like. People might think they don't care about history and the people who played before the people they love now, but they would if you made it interesting. They would if you loved it as much as you tried to get other people to love it. But for some reason, ESPN and Fox and them don't care about shit like that. However, Spags, if you don't know who he is the defensive coordinator for the Chiefs throughout this entire dynasty run. Spagnuolo has been unbelievable. And I believe that as long as you have that weapon, the ceiling is the roof, as MJ would say. Because I just think Spags continue to prove time and time again, it's no quarterback that he cannot figure out. To be honest with you, Josh Allen is the only quarterback, numbers-wise, that's done figured out Spags, aside from Burrow. And Burrow didn't really have a great game against Spags as much as the offense for the Chiefs just died. Like, the battery and the controller just completely went out. That wasn't really Spags' defense folding. Not to mention, he did as good a job as any other team had did it with stopping those three stud receivers in that offense until they had to come up against a generational player in Aaron Donald, who happened to just be able to shut the shit down. But Spags, more times than not, done came through for the Chiefs. So regardless of what I might feel like they might be missing on the defensive side of the ball for the Chiefs, if one area might be weaker than the other, Spags is such a masterful game caller. And he just understand how offenses want to call their games. Like we used to talk about how good Bill Belichick was at taking away your best option. I think Spagnuolo is basically the new defensive Bill Belichick. Like the way I feel about Spagnuolo, the way I feel about Sean McVay or what's my man's name? Kyle Shanahan. Like, dudes who are so masterful at calling the offensive side of the ball. Like, they can game plan any offense. That's how I feel Spags is. It don't matter who you put in there. Spags, by the end of the season, when the playoffs roll around, he will have his defense in a position to make plays to win the big games. Like, I just think when you talk about the Chiefs dynasty, you cannot not talk about Spags. What Spagnuolo has meant for the Chiefs team, undeniable. That's one of those people who you might not hear about as much as you hear about like the players or the head coach or shit, even the owner and the GM. But Spagnuolo has been the secret sauce for Andy Reid in this defense, especially last year when you consider, I believe that losing Eric Bieniemy actually was big. Like, last year, to me, proved Eric Bieniemy was one of the geniuses behind the Chiefs offense, because the Chiefs offense ain't what won them the Super Bowl last year. The masterfulness of Pat Mahomes and Spagnuolo's defense won the Chiefs the Super Bowl last year. You can't look at the Chiefs throughout the year last year and say that Eric Bieniemy's presence was not missed. It was. But Spagnuolo, for some fucking reason, continues to get better and better and better each year. I hate it because we got to go up against him if we're going to get to the promised land. But at the same time, I love it because if you beat Spagnuolo, and see, this is to me the opposite of Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan, for some reason, when he play against top tier quarterbacks, he fold. Like, you can feel how you feel about Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott. I don't look at them two the way I look at Lamar, Mahomes, Allen, Burrow. Those quarterbacks, Kyle Shanahan can't beat them for some reason. Spagnuolo play against them dudes. Joe Burrow, the only one who done beat him when it mattered. I'm telling you, Spagnuolo's different. So I'm interested to see what Spags has drawn up for this Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry thing. Because, you know what? I would love to sit down with Spagnuolo and talk defense. Like, Spags, how do you do it? How do you do it? I'm interested in it. I'm intrigued by it. I know some people don't get up for shit like that, but I do. So that's one of the biggest things that intrigues me about this game. The next part is if the Ravens can run the ball finally. And it's not really a if as much as it is when the Ravens can now run the ball with a running back consistently. Will that open up the play action to be a huge part of the offense? I done said it for too many years now. Play action is not as big a part of the Ravens offense as it should be. When you can run the ball as good as they've run it, you should be able to run play action. However, when you take a deeper dive at things, the Ravens' best running numbers really come from Lamar Jackson. And if your quarterback is your best runner, that don't necessarily mean you will run a great play action, because your running backs need to be ultra productive or somewhat consistent for play action to work. If defenses are not willing to sell out on your running back, then play action won't work. You want to know what else will hurt play action? Receivers who just don't run good routes. Receivers who can't get open. Receivers who can't stay healthy. So, year 2 in this offense with Lamar Jackson and his, I can't remember our offensive coordinator's name at the moment, but Todd and Lamar in the second year together. I want to see improvement. I say it all the time. If you paid to do a job, do that job. Lamar Jackson ain't the only motherfucker paid to do a job in Baltimore. Pat Mahomes ain't the only motherfucker paid to do a job in Kansas City. Spagnuolo earns his paycheck. Now I want to see Todd earn his. The offense need to be better under you in year 2. You just got a huge upgrade to the offense with Derrick Henry. I don't want to hear, could he possibly have any tread left? He got tread left on the tires. I don't doubt that at all. And I expect the receivers to look better because of Derrick Henry. This is the first player, in my opinion, that the Ravens have brought in that you can say makes Lamar Jackson better. Because everybody else to this point, you say Lamar can make them better. Derrick Henry is the first person who you could legitimately say, not only will Lamar make him better, but he will make Lamar better off of his presence alone. Can't say that for anybody else. I had somebody try to argue with me the other day. Well, what about Mark Andrews? Mark Andrews was drafted in the same draft as Lamar Jackson, wasn't even drafted the first tight end in that draft by the Ravens. It's a difference when a team just luck up into a player and that player end up being great and grow with Lamar Jackson. Mind you, I'm very interested to see, are people going to start holding Mark Andrews accountable this year? People started to hold Mark Andrews. Certain people started to put more on him this last year because people started to realize what I already realized like 2-3 years ago. In the clutch, Mark Andrews got a lot of big time drops. I don't know how that haven't been talked about more, but Mark Andrews has been one of the Ravens' worst clutch players. I'm sitting looking at him throw his tantrums, looking at his hands in his head, in my head. Remember Hollywood and all them damn open drop? Oh my God, I'm disgusted. The Bills game in the playoffs. You remember all those drops? JK had a drop. Hell, Hollywood said, I'll have a drop. Mark Andrews said, I'll have a big drop in the end zone. But Lamar got to play better. I'm disgusted. Lamar got to play better. That's what gets the clicks, ladies and gentlemen. Screaming Lamar got to play better. Not breaking down the game. Not breaking down the game. Not breaking down the game. The game that I love. The game that I sit down and watch. Not breaking it down. Just after the shit ended saying, Lamar got to play better. I'm sick of these niggas, man. It's frustrating. When I sit down and I can point out multiple things that went wrong in that game and you tally up all the mistakes and to just say Lamar got to play better. Pat Mahomes didn't play his best games in some playoff games, but other dudes stepped up when he needed them the most and they made plays so that at the end of the game, they couldn't say Pat Mahomes needed to play better. They pointed out all those big moments that his teammates made for him. And said Pat Mahomes was the MVP of this game. It's interesting. That's the thing that I'm always looking forward to every year for the Ravens. What the fuck will the receivers do? It's the age-old question. Will the Ravens receivers be good enough this year? Not gonna lie to you. I'm not overly optimistic about it. The Ravens just continue to prove to me that they are ridiculously idiotic when it comes to drafting or trading, signing receivers. I'm not going to get over this. I said last year, why the fuck would you go sign OBJ after he just missed 2 seasons when you can go get DeAndre Hopkins, who is coming off of 2 great seasons and it's been far more consistent over the past 5 years than Odell? Who had the better season last year? DeAndre. How in God's name was that a hard thing to understand if you were the Ravens? On which one of those dudes you should have tried to go get? Like, the Ravens just don't give you any room to have any faith in them as far as building up a receiver room. I hear them say it year in and year out, we got to get better at the receiver. We got to build up the receiving room. I mean, even they know that they haven't been. Eric DeCosta came out and said he haven't been good at drafting receiver. John Harbaugh for the past 2 years done said we have to get competitive in the receiver room. We have to bring in receiver competition. But this is also the same team that keep re-signing Nelson Aguilar. This is the same team that drafted Brashad Perriman. This is the same team. I'm not even going to keep going down the list. But this is also the team that just gave Rashad Bateman an extension. Rashad Bateman, who was drafted high to be Lamar's number 1 receiver, and is actually best when he plays the number 3 receiver role. Because as far as I am concerned, Nelson Aguilar has been the better receiver since getting to Baltimore than Rashad Bateman. And the thing that really irritates my soul when it comes to Baltimore's receiving core is the fact that Lamar Jackson can do everything right and still end up doing everything wrong. For the simple reason, go look at the Pittsburgh game. Lamar Jackson did everything right. And because his receivers dropped the ball left and right, ultimately, he was the one in the wrong. Because he threw the interception at the end of the game. But they would have been up by like 4 fucking touchdowns if his receivers and tight ends don't have a field day with putting the ball on the ground. Just catch after catch after catch that you expect to go not only for touchdowns, but you expect NFL players to make these catches and drop. And you want to know what they said after that game? Lamar Jackson have to be better. Maybe it's going to take a trip to a Super Bowl or a Super Bowl win for them to finally start talking about Lamar Jackson the same way they talk about other quarterbacks in a fair way. Maybe not. At this point, what I understand is they never wanted Lamar Jackson to be great because they told him coming into this you never could or would be a NFL caliber quarterback. Kid, you should play a receiver or running back. And he done surpassed every expectation. So now the thing that they do to hold on to that, we told you so, is look at him in the playoffs. He haven't won a Super Bowl. It's really a sad reality. It's the same thing I say when I listen to people hate on Steph Curry or LeBron or KD. You're missing something that's so special that you won't get again. And let's say you do get it again in 20, 30, 40 years. I doubt you'll get it again, but why not enjoy what you're getting right now? I understand rooting for a different team. I understand players not playing necessarily the way you might think the game should be played. But if they winning, and if they're not necessarily playing the game the wrong way, why not enjoy it? Why not? I'm not telling you got to root for Lamar Jackson, but what does it do you to wake up and hate on the man every day? What do it do to wake up and create a new reason as to why he is a bad quarterback? I don't get it. I saw a thing the other day where this white dude ranked his tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 quarterbacks. And Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, and Joe Burrow are all tier 1 quarterbacks. Now, what I want to ask is, because he had Lamar in tier 2, what has Joe Burrow or Josh Allen done that would put them in tier 1 over Lamar Jackson? Now, I know the first thing people want to say is, well, Joe Burrow got to a Super Bowl. I thought the criteria was winning the Super Bowl. Getting there and losing this is just as good as, what is the age-old question? Is it to better have loved and lost or better than to have never loved at all? I think that question is irrelevant. He didn't win the motherfucker. So what are we talking about right now? That's a playoff run that didn't end in a Super Bowl. You do not get style points for getting to a Super Bowl and losing that motherfucker. I ain't never heard nobody write on their resume as a positive, and I lost a Super Bowl. Like, what are we doing? Lamar Jackson got 2 MVPs, 1 unanimous. Only 2 motherfuckers done that. Him, Brady. What are we doing? I don't understand the blatant racism, the blatant stupidity. This thing where people are excited to show you that they don't know about football. Like the metrics of, and then one of he said his metrics is a quarterback that can take over the game. And like I done told you what my metrics for a great quarterback were. The only quarterback who I consistently put in those top tier echelon of quarterbacks who should be questioned is Burrow. Not Lamar, not Allen, definitely not Mahomes. Burrow can't do some of the shit that Lamar and Allen and Pat Mahomes can do. He just have been fortunate enough to have by far the better supporting cast than any of those other 3. Even Pat Mahomes, when he had his best supporting cast, was not better than some of these teams that Joe Burrow done marched out there with when it comes to the pieces he done had offensively. But for some reason, he done underachieved. It's not looked at as underachieving. He consistently get hurt. He not called injury prone. You say it's not racism. You say, Saint, why you always bringing up racism? Well, you explain it to me then. You explain to me that type of shit type criteria. Because I tell you all the time, if I gave Lamar Jackson's resume to Joe Burrow, I would never hear, oh, Joe Burrow haven't won a Super Bowl. Oh, look at his playoff stats. You would say, bro, that's a 2-time MVP, bro. He gonna figure it out. Other people need to meet him at the party. That's a 2-time MVP. We know what he about. He's no longer to be questioned. It's about everybody else helping him get there. And then you would say for Lamar, I mean, he got to a Super Bowl, but what's getting to a Super Bowl? He didn't win it. He still got a lot to prove. I can hear it now. But Saint, you keep bringing up race. Well, you tell me how the fuck that shit makes any type of sense. Because you know I'm not wrong on how the resume flopped. You already know I'm not wrong. You got motherfuckers walking around on Twitter talking about some, he won those MVPs years ago. Bro, we shitting on MVPs? We live in an interesting time, ladies and gentlemen. Very interesting time. Thursday night should be a banger. Thursday night should be a good one. I'm excited. To be honest with you. Another story I'm intrigued in. Can John Harbaugh find a way to beat Andy Reid? I think he done won once against Andy Reid since Andy Reid done been with the Chiefs. Like, Harbaugh, come on, buddy. I know you get to live in this beautiful world of it's always going to be Lamar Jackson who get the most and the first blame. But at some point in time, my guy, you got to figure out how to beat Andy Reid. Like, I'm going to need you to show up to the party also to help Lamar out. Now, I get it. Last year was probably the best you ever coached against Andy Reid in that AFC game. I'm not going to stunt. You know, Zay Flowers, a couple mistakes that he made here or there. It's a completely different game. So I'm not even going to hold you on that. But now I need you to get it done. All right? Week 1, the first game of the season, really don't mean shit. If we don't play against them another time this season, and which we won't. But as far as in the regular season. But if let's say we finish with the same record this year and they beat us. Okay, wow, they get home field advantage. Who gives a fuck? I want to go to Kansas City and play these motherfuckers anyways. I don't give a fuck where we play Kansas City at. Home, away. They done beat us in their building. They done beat us in our building. I want to beat these motherfuckers. All right. Nobody is going to complain about, oh, they beat him at home. Nobody gives a damn. I just want to beat Kansas City. And this year should be all about beating Kansas City. I'm not telling you to overlook nobody else. But you should be trying to put together a team. Every little thing with this team, you should be saying, that shit won't win it for us in Kansas City. If we played against Kansas City, we lose off of plays like that. That game against Kansas City have to become the benchmark for your team. If we get back to Kansas City, we don't win doing that shit. Hell, we don't get to Kansas City if we play like this. Everything have to become magnified. You don't accept in victory what you wouldn't accept in defeat. That's what it have to be this year. Except for you don't accept. If you wouldn't accept it against the Chiefs, you can't accept it against this team. That's your whole motto. Because the only thing that I see standing between Lamar Jackson and the Super Bowl is Pat Mahomes, his kryptonite. And I said last year, the biggest problem that Lamar Jackson, I thought, the biggest problem to this point in his career was the fact that his mentality of, it's not me against Pat Mahomes. It is you against Pat Mahomes, my guy. And now that he understands that, he is going to be a better quarterback going forward because of it. Because before he kept saying, no, it's not me against Pat Mahomes. I got to play against his defense like he got to play against my... No. We understand that. But that's the type of shit that you say when you play against Jared Goff. That's the type of shit you say against Brock Purdy. No disrespect to Brock Purdy, but he ain't Lamar. That's the type of shit you say when you play against like a Baker Midfield. When you play against Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Pat Mahomes, you playing against those guys. Because you understand that what you have to do is going to have to match and exceed what he does. Because you know for a fact what he can do. That's what makes greatness. If he wasn't great, it would be no expectation. Because of how great those guys are, it's an expectation every time. I have to outmatch his production. For other teams, you might say, yeah, it's kind of him. It's kind of his guys really more so than him. It's kind of the play calling. Not when you go up against certain players. And that's really the biggest thing I can give to Joe Burrow, even though it's kind of taken away because I don't think Joe Burrow is successful because of his head coach in the play calling. I definitely don't think Zach Taylor the reason they winning. And I also don't think Joe Burrow is just some otherworldly talent. I think the talent around Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon, plug in a mediocre tight end. I don't even want to be disrespectful. Plug in an average to okay tight end that can run some routes and catch the ball. You give Pat Mahomes that. Give Lamar Jackson that. Give Josh Allen that. But no shade to Burrow. But I'm excited for this Thursday night game. Can't you tell? Can't you tell? Now, another thing that I'm very intrigued to see in this game is, did Roquan Smith see Donovan Smith's, did he see that interview? Did he see, or that clip, rather? It really don't take much for Roquan to be on 100, so I'm always intrigued. Does seeing Roquan and Kyle Hamilton in year 2 together, I mean in year 3 together, but technically year 2 for Kyle, because now he was a stud last year, and now he coming into year 2 as being a stud, but this is technically year 3. My goodness. And I'll continue to say it. I don't know that I've ever seen a player who looked so lost in year 1 go to being a first team All-Pro, undeniably the best free safety or strong safety in football, safety in football. Because I don't think it's a safety in football that's better than Kyle Hamilton. I don't think it's a high, and I done had this conversation with y'all multiple times. I just don't think it's a safety right now that can do everything Kyle Hamilton can do. Tyrann Mathieu used to do everything, but he is older now. He can't do what he used to do. Kyle Hamilton got the height. He taller than Mathieu. I'm imagining he's stronger. Now, I can't rate the speed because Mathieu was fast as shit. But right now, I see no equal. And I'm really irritated when people say, well, you know, Derwin James. Bro, Derwin James, I'm not going to get into the... For one, injuries take him out of this conversation. But two, he's not better than Kyle Hamilton, yo. Derwin James is not a phenomenal or I wouldn't even say a great cover safety. I think he more so is phenomenal when he play in the box. And I'm not going to say he's not a hybrid. He closer to a hybrid than he is just a box safety because he can go out. He not like the Jamal, what's my man's name who was with the Seahawks? What is his last name? Jamal Adams. He not like Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams was strictly a box safety. Like, he was not playing in cover. He lined up with linebackers. He came down and played in the box. He was making tackles, trying to get sacks, trying to make tackles for loss. He was not a pass coverage player. Derwin James can play in pass coverage, but he is not as good in pass coverage as Kyle Hamilton. Kyle Hamilton can legitimately go cover a tight end or a slot receiver and do it like an outside receiver and then go play in the back in space, just like not Ed Reed, but as Ed Reed-esque. As far as how he can go play in the back. He already done shown you that he can make quarterbacks. He can draw quarterbacks off of, like he can read quarterbacks' eyes and make them go one way and then trick them to, and make a play. Like, to me, Kyle Hamilton is, I'm very intrigued on how Kyle Hamilton and Roquan Smith, that duo looks, because a lot of people kept talking about Roquan and PQ. Roquan and Cal Hamilton is the duo. I'm telling you right now. But this is going to be a good game. I'm very intrigued. Now, it's always that small chance, I guess you could say that, this could be a kryptonite Lamar Jackson game. But I think we well past Lamar Jackson having I don't think a blowout is going to happen. I think Lamar done been blown out by the Chiefs once in his career. I don't see that happening. And that's the game where he said, I guess that's my kryptonite. I don't see that. I don't foresee that happening. I understand it's always a small possibility when a dude got your number that they could just put it on you one of them games, but I don't foresee that happening. I think this will be a very competitive game. And now you done made it this far in the show, you might as well listen to who I'm taking in this game. I understand the Chiefs are at home. I understand they're going to be raising the Lombardi, but I think that the Ravens kicked their season off strong by beating Kansas City in Kansas City. I think the Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson combo will pay dividends for the Ravens. And I think that they kick off the season with a Derrick Henry going for 100 yards. And I think Lamar Jackson could possibly push for 100 yards rushing. And if he don't go for 100 yards rushing, I think you're about to see Lamar Jackson go for about 300 plus yards passing in this game. I think the addition of Lamar Jackson with the ability to have Derrick Henry, a running back who legitimately can carry the entire running back load, opens up so many options for him that he has never had in his career. The peak of it was with Mark Ingram. The places that he can go now that he have a running back where he don't got to worry about shit. This running back, I might hand it to him and he might lose 2 yards, 5 yards, 6. He know if I give it to Derrick Henry 3 times, he's gaining yards 2 of those times. And it's very rare he's going to be losing yards in the backfield. I think that they kicked the season off with a strong push from Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. And I think they pay dividends. Derrick Henry pays dividends for the Ravens early, often, and all season. I appreciate you for joining me on the first episode this year of the NFL Week 1 breakdowns or predictions, picks and predictions. I don't know why that was such a mouthful to get out. But I do appreciate you for joining me. As always, tell somebody you fuck with them. Tell somebody you love them. You could be anything in this world. So please, please choose to be kind to somebody today. Like, subscribe, share. I fuck with you. I love you. Saint out.
I have fought the good fight and I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Well, I fought a good fight. I've finished my football race, and after 18 years, it's time. God bless all of you, and God bless football.
I got the moves like hot sauce. Lil' mama taking the top off. I'm laying down getting topped off. After this, she know she getting knocked off. I know she loving the money, so I keep on thumbing and thumbing. She say she horny when she taking shots, so I keep them coming and coming. Now I'm putting dick in her tummy, scoop her up like I'm raking her something. You would think shawty red track, the way that she running and running. You getting dumber and dumber, you out here chasing the bone. After she finished from giving me dome, the Uber is taking her home. Tight.